John Bolton is now officially lashing out at Trump's policy towards North Korea. Axios reports the following. The president's former national security advisor, who served until September, is speaking out ahead of an end-of-year timetable. If Kim Jong-un follows through on his threatened Christmas provocation, Bolton says the White House should do something that would be very unusual for this administration. Admit they got it wrong on North Korea. Quote, the idea that we are somehow exerting maximum pressure on North Korea is just unfortunately not true, Bolton said. For example, he said the U.S. Navy could start intercepting oil that is illegally being transferred to North Korea at sea. As Bolton sees it, the administration now has more of a rhetorical policy that it's unacceptable for North Korea to have a nuclear weapon that could hit America or its allies. If Kim thumbs his nose at the U.S., Bolton said, he hopes the administration will say, we've tried, the policy's failed, we're going to go back now and make it clear that in a variety of steps, together with our allies, when we say it's unacceptable, we're going to demonstrate we will not accept it. Bolton described his concerns about Trump's North Korea strategy in an interview with Axios late last week. He went significantly further than any of his previous remarks since leaving the administration. Now they go on to say this. Bolton, who has advocated for a more aggressive North Korea strategy, also criticized Trump for saying earlier this year that Kim's short-range missile tests don't bother him. Quote, when the president says, well, I'm not worried about short-range missiles, he's saying, I'm not worried about the potential risk to American troops deployed in the region or our treaty allies, South Korea and Japan. Here we go, baby. Here we go. John Bolton tried to make the case for endless perpetual war from within the administration, didn't win on every front, but he won on others. For instance, he has drastically escalated Venezuela. He drastically escalated Iran. I'm sure he was also behind the notion of continuing to have a troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan and in Syria. I'm sure he's behind the increase in drone strikes, the massive increase in drone strikes that happened with Trump, 432% to be exact, increase in drone strikes. And remember, Obama had a 90% civilian death rate. I'm sure Trump's is about the same with 432% more drone strikes, so a lot more innocent deaths on his hands. So I'm sure he had a say in all that. But now, he didn't win out on North Korea. That's the one issue where Trump was like, let's try to talk it out or whatever. Because Trump, he doesn't have much of an ideology, but one of the things that is reliable about Trump is anti-Obamaism. So he just wants to be able to say, like, Obama bad, I did the opposite, and aren't I amazing? And so Obama couldn't get an official deal with North Korea, and so Trump is trying to do that, or he tried to do that. Now, John Bolton wants to blow him to smithereens. That's a funny way of putting it. The double entendre there is pretty good. That's what John Bolton wants to do. He wants to start a war. And so now he wasn't able to influence it from within the White House. Now he's out of the White House, and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to make my case either way. So remember, and the article doesn't mention this, and is bordering on journalistic malpractice that they don't mention this. But when John Bolton was in the White House, what did he say? He said, as Trump was trying to negotiate with Kim, he goes, we're looking at the Libya model for North Korea. You're looking at the Libya model. The Libya model is, okay, Gaddafi, you give us your weapons and we won't invade you. Oh, thank you for giving us your weapons. Now we're going to topple you anyway. So Kim Jong-un, when he hears that, he knows what happens to Gaddafi. And he knows, like, I can't trust the Americans. If I make a deal with the Americans, they'll just stab me in the back. Guys, we made a deal with Iran. And then we stabbed them in the back and pulled out of the agreement and sanctioned them out the wazoo. And now we're sanctioning medicine from going into their country, and people are dying because they can't get medicine. The country's on the brink in large part because of our sanctions. That's not absolving the government there, but in large part because of our sanctions. So he saw what happened with Iran. He saw what happened with Libya. Why would he trust us? Why would he want to make a deal? Why would he do that? He knows, as long as I have the weapons, then I have a deterrent. As long as I have the weapons, then I have a deterrent, and they can't mess with me. So it really, and there are some honest people in the government who will tell you, who are experts on this who will tell you, oh, he's totally acting defensive. Not even a question. Not even a question. He's tit for tat with us. Not even a question. He's just saying, leave me alone. Now, that doesn't mean that he's good domestically. Of course he's not. He's a monster. But should we militarily try to topple him? I say hell no, man. Hell no. So what was the line here that most shook me to my core? The idea that we are somehow exerting maximum pressure on North Korea is just unfortunately not true. And then he says, let's intercept the oil that's illegally being transferred to North Korea at sea. Now, I don't know the details of that. It's possible that that's Chinese oil. In fact, I would guess it is, because I think that's the only country that they have relatively open, fine relations with. But guys, if you do that, you do understand you're putting people at risk. See, that's the thing. John Bolton portrays everything as like, I'm the straight shooter, and I'm the one who's going to fix the problem. You failed at everything you've ever tried, ever. This is one of the architects of the Iraq War. First of all, that war was criminal, full stop, but it's also strategically probably one of the most pathetic embarrassments of all time. And now he's saying, well, trust me on North Korea, and yeah, why not, seize the shipments of the oil? Guys, if we did that, you're forcing North Korea's hand. What do you think? They are much more likely to lash out and do something militarily that we're not going to like in a situation like John Bolton is describing. So hilariously, as he argues like, oh man, this is not working, this has failed, he's putting people in more danger. He's putting Seoul, South Korea in much more danger. Now, they're not going to attack the U.S. because I don't think they have the capability, but even if they could, they wouldn't do it because they know they'd be nuked in a minute if they attacked us. But South Korea? Yeah, you're threatening a hot war. You're threatening some sort of military conflict because you want to play Mr. Tough Guy. Like, oh yeah, I'll show them. He's making everybody significantly less safe. And this guy should be locked up in The Hague. He's a war criminal. He's a war criminal. He was the architect of an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us, that killed minimum 200,000 civilians over there, killed thousands of our own men and women, and wasted $7 trillion. And now he's going to try to dictate foreign policy with North Korea. Dude, we know your playbook. We know it's just invade, bomb everything in sight. The dude has never met a war he didn't like. And he's putting everybody at risk in the process. Now, here's the little cherry on top in this story. Guys, it is overwhelmingly likely that the media will treat him like some sort of objective expert. And it's overwhelmingly likely that the Democrats will pick up on John Bolton's line of attack and agree with him and use him to bash Trump and the administration. This is one of the few issues where you could say Trump is fine because he's not trying to start a war with North Korea. I was pissed at him when early on, before they had the talks, he was like, I'm going to rain fire and fury on them. I was like, oh my God, no, stop. Stop tweeting that like you want to go to war with everybody. Don't do that. That's really dangerous and not cool. But when he started talking to them, like when he met Kim Jong-un, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. We need to move away from war. So yes, you meet with your enemies. You absolutely meet with your enemies. Now, John Bolton didn't like that. But now they're going to use John Bolton as a proxy to attack Trump, and the Democrats are going to line up behind Bolton and act like he's the truth teller, and they're going to act like Trump is wrong. And this is the contradiction at the heart of Democratic politics at the moment, which is they simultaneously argue Trump is an evil, crazy, thin-skinned maniac who shouldn't have his finger anywhere near the button, and oh yeah, he should attack people a lot more. No. Which is it? You have to pick one. Oh, and by the way, Manchurian Candidate. So he's an evil tyrant dictator who's insane, who should never have control of a military, and he's controlled by Vladimir Putin at the same time. And oh yeah, he should start bombing North Korea, and we should give him $80 billion more for his military budget. Oh, so bad. So bad. They're going to use this guy as an expert, and he's one of the most dangerous people in the country, and one of the biggest war criminals in the country. He belongs in a cell. He belongs behind bars, at best. And instead, he will be treated like an objective expert, and the media will hang on his every word, and they'll act like he's the one who's keeping it real when he says, yeah, we should escalate to flat-out hot war with North Korea. You've destroyed enough in your life, John Bolton. Please just go away.